No, no. He's actually a colleague from graduate school who lives in town.
Council will come to order. It is 12 minutes after 8 a.m. on March the 2nd. We will convene into a special session. We do have a quorum. Councilmember Schaffner was not able to be here, and Councilmember Kurtz will be a little late. Item 2015-0163, consider and take appropriate action regarding the appointment of Stephen Seidel as town manager and his employment agreement with the town, and authorizing the mayor and his designee to execute necessary documents. Council, I would think that we might want to just go into executive session at this time, unless somebody wishes to make a motion while we're here. All right, hearing none, we will convene into executive session at, it's still 8:12. Okay, 8:12 and a half, 8:13. Okay. Item 2015-0164. Pursuant to the following designated sections of the Texas Government Code, annotated subchapter 551, Texas Open Meetings Act, the council will enter into executive session to discuss the following items. A, Section 551.074A1, personnel matters, to discuss or deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, resignation, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee pursuant to Section 551.074A1 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, town manager employment, offer with Stephen Seidel. We are in executive session. It is 9:21, and we are back into regular session. Item 0165, consider take appropriate action regarding executive session. Stephen, I'm going to kind of step through things with you to see where we are on them.
All right.
For us to take any action, it has to be open. Yeah. Everybody was in agreement. Section 1, the term, the 2-year, as you proposed. There really was no changes to that. Down to Section 3, the council felt like that when they made the offer of interim at 150 and based on the benefits being paid, that they would want to leave it at 150, giving us more room for latitude to give you raises as compensation and job dictated. Item Section 3E, everybody agreed to delete that section. E went away. So in your final one, there is no E.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that. Yep. Section 4, everybody was okay with the, was it specifying the, let's see here, 4A. Your proposed agreement, they wanted to add to the end of A, not to exceed 800 per pay period. The idea here is nobody can control what's going to happen to health benefits in the future, and so they're capping that above what it's costing us today. But if it goes over that, you have to participate in that. So not to exceed 800 per period is being added to the end of the sentence of A. B, left with the changes that you had already accepted, I think is the case. Yeah. 7, there was no change to 7. It was as you proposed. 8, took as you proposed. Or, I'm sorry, Section 8. And that included any changes to Section 8. What did we do on E, though?
Stayed the same.
Stayed the same. Okay.
Accepted Stephen's proposal.
Okay, so all of Section 8 accepts what you had. Section 9
Stayed the same.
stayed the same as you proposed. Section 10. The 5th line down that begins applicable car and mobile phone allowances. Remove. We felt like if we negotiated a buyout, it ends those.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the logic behind that is if we're negotiating a buyout, something went wrong.
Cobra change was accepted, however.
The Cobra change was
Yeah.
accepted. Oh.
Oh, yeah, the
So
3
that
days.
where it says, town shall pay such buyout town manager a simple lump sum within 3 business days. We didn't even make it this last time, 3 business days, probably unrealistic. We said make it 10.
Okay.
But the intent is not to delay it, but why make it something you can't do? Because we had to calculate, get it paid.
Right.
It just took a few deals. 11 took as is, right? 12, we took as you proposed. Is that right, everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
And we didn't have anything else
No,
changed, did we?
13 we did.
13 we did?
Yeah, we had the,
First paragraph.
What
First
about
paragraph.
the annually paragraph?
so
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
we took out the.
Section 13, the first paragraph, we felt like just remove it. The second paragraph deals with reviewing and felt like that 5-year goals and stuff were not necessarily specific to you.
Okay.
So delete first paragraph of 13.
And then the review.
And then the second paragraph, because earlier it specified that there was a 6-month notice, that paragraph needed to be worded in a fashion to say that the review would happen 6 months prior to the anniversary date.
Okay.
Now, having said that, did I miss mentioning the term,
Yeah, we didn't talk
That's
about
what I
that.
was gonna ask, because you said initially to leave it as is.
right?
But it's,
And
no.
It had been
I missed that note. The
proposed.
term, section 1, we wanted what we're gonna call a rolling 2-year agreement.
Okay.
So it's a 2-year agreement. At the end of 1 year, if we don't take any action, it extends to a 2-year
Okay.
If we don't take action at the 6 months.
at the 6-month period. So we have to do it 6 months in advance to deal with it. So if we take no action at 6 months, it's gonna extend unless we take action. And Patricia's gonna work out the wording of that. And are we, so, I think at this point, we'll let you make some comments to us so that we can finalize. Did I miss one?
The 10 mile?
Oh, I
Yeah, we
did,
took
I'm
that out.
sorry. Remove the 10-mile limit.
Okay.
There was no reason to say 10 miles. If we're giving you permission to live outside the town, we're giving you permission to live outside the town.
Realistically, I'm gonna live close. I don't wanna commute.
We said you could carpool with Holly from Arlington.
And we were gonna go back and reference the,
Just in case you move the town hall someplace, you know.
We were gonna
in the
reference,
dog park.
leave in there the reference that we were giving you the exception to the
Right.
charter.
right.
Thank you, Eric. I got too many versions of these
Yeah.
things. Making notes on, I'm gonna throw them all away when I'm finished. All right, Stephen, any comments you'd like to make?
What I would propose is if I agree to the premium cap, then I'd like to adjust the salary up so that I could escrow, in a sense, my own funds, so that at some point that goes above, I have the ability to take on that premium. That's just the way
I don't think
budget.
that's a bad idea, and I understand what you're saying. I think that because the cap that we put in place is greater than what it is now, I think that's probably an appropriate discussion to have at the 6-month review, right? We're all excited and happy about what you've
Right.
done, and then you can look and say, insurance premiums look like they're going up. That's kind of the time to say, can we raise this cap, or can we do something like this? I think that it just gives either this council or future councils, what I don't want to do is get to the point where rewarding you becomes counterproductive, and they just go, man, we have a town manager. I mean, in a very short amount of time, your compensation can be excessive.
Sure.
And
I understand.
so, I mean, it gives us something to give you, raising the cap, giving you,
Yeah.
that's just my thought. Anyway.
I think the cap, as they were saying, it already covers what's happening today.
That's true.
We don't know what's going to happen with health insurance.
That's right.
In one sense, the way we treat employees is you give them a dollar amount as what we're going to contribute, and whatever happens to health benefits, you choose. You choose whether you want to have dental or not, eyeglass or not. That's going to affect, you can control your own expenses by doing so, is kind of how I feel about it. That
And I also think, too, it gives you an incentive to look at the plan you choose, and if you have this amount of money available, you might say, well, I can keep this money available and just take a $250 deductible or a $500 deductible and control the cost that way and have that participation in the overall plan for me and my family.
Then I would ask that you make the salary equal to Mike's salary when he left.
which was,
154,964, I think, something like that. 154,7. I don't have it in front of me.
But Mike did not have the family plan.
that's right, he didn't have family coverage on benefits, was the way we talked about that. Because she had coverage through the school.
Right.
So there was a slight difference there. That was the reason when we talked about this,
It kind of balanced it out there.
was looking at it, we
Okay.
thought. So it was 154,
983.
983.40. All right, council?
This was his total right here.
Yeah,
Some of the as proposed were, what?
187. If you just take 10 off that, 187, 475.
So it's 7,000 more than what Mike was making. So the proposal is to increase the town manager's salary, or total compensation package, by $7,000.
Over what Mike was making.
Correct, yes,
If
so-
we took the
That's our
154.
No, that's our proposal. Stephen's
Oh, I'm sorry.
proposal. So,
Student's proposal is to
our
take it up to
current-
basically $10,000 over.
yeah, our current proposal is total compensation package of 187, 475. And Stephen's proposal would take it to, sorry. Where'd that other thing go? Would take it to 192, 458, 40. And what Garrett's question just was, Mike's total compensation package was 189.30.04. And I don't want to belabor too much what Mike was or wasn't getting, because I'm trying to ascertain what your value is to us and what your fit is for the town and things of that nature. The reason I was comfortable with 150 as an interim is, and still am, is that I felt like it's a good starting point for where you are, where we are as a town, the scope of what the town will demand upon you, and things of that nature. So I'm comfortable leaving it at 150 personally.
So to summarize the dollar figures, Mike was making in a total compensation 189.30.04,
Yes, sir.
Right.
and our current proposal total was a salary of 150, which made the total comp package 187,475.
Correct.
193.
And Stephen is saying raise the salary to
Mike's old salary,
old salary, which was 154,
983.40,
983.40,
bringing the total.
bringing the total comp to 192,458.40, right? All right, so that's where we are in the discussion. So, I hear a couple of people saying, leave it at the 150. I was not opposed to the 160 that you had in your proposal to us. As we've gone through this and looked at the numbers of the total compensation package, I think the 150 is a fair offer, but I would not be opposed to the 154, 983.40 if council decided to do that. So that's given up almost $5,000 additional salary.
But the total compensation package is still greater than
It's
what
still
we were
greater than
compensating
Mike,
Mike
yes,
for.
right.
So it is,
Well, at that point, it would be.
Yes.
In both cases, it would be.
yeah, it's both
I thought
cases.
it was, what you had proposed, and I don't have a spreadsheet in front of me.
No, it's okay.
Was 187 versus 189.
I think they were saying 180.
180,930.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
180,930.04.
Yeah.
So it's already a not quite $7,000 total compensation more than what Mike was making.
And this would put it over 10,000 more.
And this would put it over 10,000. So,
12, almost 12.
But look at it this way. You're not spending $25,000 to go hire a search firm either.
correct. And I don't know that we would.
Yeah,
but
would we
okay.
have?
But nevertheless.
I'm confident our interim town manager would have known how, would have found a
I would have found a lesser.
cost-effective solution.
All right. I realize this is an uncomfortable way of negotiating in
Yeah.
public, but
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yes.
great.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Occupational hazard.
Can I say something?
Yes, Tim.
I wasn't here the
Microphone.
last 2 years.
Oh.
Wasn't here the last 2 years. So is it customary that every year, like, in your review, you come back and say, can I have a raise? Is that what Mike does? Is that what happens in public sector? Or is it after 2 years, he says, then I want to renegotiate?
That's a
During
great
the
Because-
question.
annual review,
Right,
you would discuss salary.
salary.
And partly you do that in advance of budget season because it's going to roll into the budget. But typically they would have budgeted maybe a cost of living raise if
Right.
you were going to give a cost of living raise.
Okay.
So,
That's actually a point I didn't think about. Are we negotiating this as a 2-year salary?
Right.
Or are we going to give you a raise in a year?
And that's my worry is that we're coming back and, in the private sector, we deal with this all the time. I bring in a manager and no matter what you pay him, whether you start him at 40 or 100, a year later, he's coming back and asking for a raise. And so I just wanted to get a handle on, is this 2 years? Or is this 1 year? Is this 6 months from now? We're going to say, hey, he did a great job and we'll reassess. That makes a huge difference on our starting point, I guess, for me. So that's,
What-
all right, so go ahead and answer, then I have two other
My
people.
experiences in the government world is that it doesn't work like that. And so, unless it is prescribed within an employment agreement or an offer letter that contingent upon this, or at this point you would get X amount, that's usually the way that it is. It doesn't keep councils and managers from discussing raises, and that does happen, or changes. But in reality, if we would execute this agreement, you're not obligated. And that's why, it sounds, okay, we're $4,700 apart or $4,800 apart. But at the end of the day, if we both execute that, that's the salary. And it doesn't mean that, everything else is good intentions. And, I have to make sure that, when I'm looking at it like, this is going to be my salary for 2 years.
right, and I understand your point of view. All I heard when I was a resident and now on the council is that, over the last few years, most salaries in this town happened to escalate. There were raises given across the board that, whether it's true or not, I mean, seem exorbitant. I get that you'll have a 2-year contract, and we want it rolling, so you always have it. But I also understand that is in people's natures, and as you should, to come back and say, I'm doing a good job. I feel my value is more now. And wherever you start, you're going to come back and say, I did a good job, and I think my value is higher now. I mean, so I just want to make sure we're all cognizant of that fact that, you know, we all have short attention spans, and, you know, so that's all. I wanted to be,
Just
understand.
For the
All right, so
record,
Greg wanted to talk, and then Ryland.
just for
and
the
then
record,
Garrett.
I was on council last year, and Mike Sly had a 5-year contract, but he was given a $10,000 raise.
That's what I thought.
Now, I think that the year before, too, he might have been given something, but I wasn't on council then. But for sure, last year, he was given and that's a 5-year deal he had.
Ryland?
I was just going to say, it'd be my intention anytime we review any of our appointed employees, to take the opportunity to consider the compensation and amend the contract accordingly if we feel like there's added value there, or that the employee has earned a raise. To me, I see it as no different than any of the other folks I've managed over the years. It's just that simply I have to amend a piece of paper to do it, whereas normally I don't have to do that. So from my standpoint, I feel like the contract is your guarantee, but obviously it's a floor and not a ceiling or a constant. So that's kind of, I think I kind of see it the same way Tim does, which is that I want to give you the opportunity to come in and for everybody to have the comfort level to reward you for the good job that we're all certain you're going to do. And the longer that goes, the more that continues to build.
Garrett?
My general comment would be this. In negotiations, it's a lot of times difficult to take emotion out of it, and negotiating is what I kind of do for a living, so I do a pretty good job of that. And so I wanted you to know that the way that I view this is the town manager, right? So remove whom occupies that spot. So we're a couple months into the new year, and we as a council made a decision with the former town manager that it was time to make a change. So if I look at it, we're changing, or we're giving a raise to the town manager's designation right now of about $7,000. So we're actually increasing it by that much. So there is a more salary being given to that position, more compensation being given to that position. And I'm comfortable at the level that is. I don't know if I'm comfortable adding another 7,000, 8,000 to that. I think that my personal preference would be, when I came into this, would be to keep it exactly the same, right? And I've been convinced, and I think there's been great arguments made that, no, it should be a little bit more than that. So that's kind of where I fall. I'm really in the camp that, at least through the end of this fiscal year, the salary should be the same, but I've been convinced that taking it up roughly $7,000 is probably the right thing to do. And so that's just kind of where I'm at.
I would agree with the previous comments that talked about this pay is not designated for 2 years.
Right.
It's when reviewed, compensation would be looked at appropriately, just like in all. So I don't see it being that it's a 150 offer for 2 years.
Sure.
I think Garrett makes a very valid point. I think some of the other points have been, from a total compensation package, it's more than what our previous town manager was making. I realize it's not where you wanted, but it is already giving a raise, and I think it gives us a little bit more flexibility because, quite frankly, 6 months from now, we'll be reviewing and looking at that. So while I'm on that, given the fact that we already are on March timeframe and not February, do we want to make the date of this to be March and not February 28th or 26th or 27th or whatever it was that it's rolling on us? So that's just a comment. So
I like the March 1 because it starts a clean first of the month, and otherwise it's 27th, is it the 28th? And
That's fair.
I always like the first of the month, or the 15th.
Stephen, are you okay with making it a March 1?
Yes, sir. That's not an issue.
It seems to just be easier to look at than trying to figure out what day in February did we have to make.
Yeah.
We got to do it in February if we're going to make the 6 month. All right, so that, you've heard our rationale, Stephen. Any other comments?
Well, then I'd say let's split the difference.
So split the difference between 150 and
154.9.
154,983. Did you calculate that?
It's 24.50. Well, let me walk away with the win.
You're just like us. Both sides like,
Yeah, I know. That's-
we want to win. We want to win.
Well, at least he's negotiating
That's
for
why this is
us,
gonna
for
work
everything
out.
else, so, yeah, I'm fine with it.
So-
But I'm not giving you a raise in 6 months.
Whoa.
Whoa.
All right, so what would it be? What's your proposal?
It'd be 152.450.
No change?
Let him in the house if he doesn't come home.
And no change? Even dollars?
Even dollars.
152,450.
Philip's not gonna like that. No change. He wants 32 cents or
Well, where is he?
65 cents.
That would,
Yeah,
for the purpose of everyone comparing apples to apples, that would make the total package a total of 189,925.
Well, we
So
keep
an
it under
increase
190,
to-
that's a cool thing.
No, total compensation
All right.
package, you're gonna make 9,000. just under
Council,
10.
I would entertain a motion.
No raises in 6 months.
That wasn't exactly the motion that I
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
All right, let me be
I
more
would-
specific.
I would-
Seconded my motion.
I would make a motion to extend an offer of employment to acting town manager Stephen Seidel to become Trophy Club town manager with the employment contract as amended in this session, including the increase of base salary to, what was that, 152,450 annually,
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion by
and authorized by the mayor, the contract, yeah.
Councilmember Rowe to offer the contract at a salary base of 152,450, even with the benefits that have been discussed, as seconded by Councilmember Lamont, authorizing the mayor to execute upon receiving the final document. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor show your hands. All opposed, same sign. It is unanimous. Patricia, do you have enough you think you can get that finalized?
I have it, I believe I have it now,
Okay.
but I'll just have to take everything, clean it up.
All right, let's do that, print it out. Stephen and I'll review it. If anybody can stay, you're welcome to stay, but we're going to adjourn.
On the language, I'm going to want to send that paragraph that she's adding or changing to my attorney just to make sure that there's nothing there.
All right.
I mean, I think it's going to be fine working with Patricia.
You're talking about the paragraph that dealt with term, the rolling 2-year?
Yeah, let me look at it, and it may be fine.
Okay.
I just want to read it.
All right. Is everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe has moved to adjourn. Perro has moved to second. All in favor, show your hands. It is unanimous. I couldn't see Garrett.
I'm gonna stay.
We are adjourned at 9:47.
If we had one more